A Quiet Place Part 2. I saw this film last night at a theater, and this is one that I've been looking forward to for a while now. Big fan of the original, the first one. The first A Quiet Place was great because it really it had a unique concept, and it's one that's so simple, yet because of the fantastic direction and the stellar performances from the actors, it's something that really worked extremely well. It actually worked a lot better than it probably should have. And this movie really continues in the same vein. I really love this movie from start to finish. Just starting out with the beginning. The first thing you see is the intro of what happened. It's like a backstory. It's very brief. I believe it's like the first 10 or 15 minutes of the movie, if that. It really shows how the creatures came to this small town and just started killing people. And this scene also introduces one of the central leading characters of the film, played by Cillian Murphy. And I'm going to talk about the actors and the performances here in a moment. But I really like the way this intro was structured because it set up the whole theme of the rest of the movie, and that the father, played by John Krasinski, the movie is showing that he's willing to put himself in danger for the well-being of his family, and that his daughter has the same moral standards and values that her father did. That's one of the central leading themes is, the passing of the torch. Now, unlike a lot of horror films, this movie, quite a bit of it takes place during the day, which is very different for a horror film. But I think that's something that John Krasinski, that's something that he took advantage of, because he knew with the concept of the movie, the story doesn't have to be locked to one specific time zone. And that's something he really takes advantage of, specifically in the beginning and later in the film towards the end. Another thing that really worked about this is that every scene in which the monsters or the creatures appear, there's always a way for the characters to get out of the situation that they're in. And they have to use their intelligence in order to outsmart the creatures. And John Krasinski, he came up with different methods for the characters to take out the monsters. So throughout my entire experience with the movie, every action sequence had tension, a lot of it. These characters, they're literally an inch away from death multiple times throughout the movie. And it kept me invested from start to finish. Regarding the CGI on the actual creatures and some of the other effects that are in the movie, they did a fantastic job. The creatures themselves, they are extremely aggressive, and they're very bloodthirsty. Just the slightest noise in the environment will just set them off, and they'll immediately go to investigate. And if they detect that something is there, they are going to attack. But something I really like that this movie does is it really exploits and emphasizes what the weaknesses of the creatures are. And without going into spoiler territory, basically the weaknesses of the monsters is the same thing that sets them off to attack their victims in the first place. With a movie like this on a technical level, from a technical perspective, sound design is absolutely crucial. They have multiple scenes throughout the movie where the daughter, who can't hear, she's deaf, loses one of her hearing aids, and then there's just no sound, and you really don't know if there's a monster nearby or not. And that really elevated the scare factor quite a bit throughout those sequences in the movie. Another thing that this story does a very good job with is that it really follows four characters, but it splits them up into basically two different groups. So you have Emily Blunt's character, the mother. She's split up with her son and the baby. And then the daughter is split up with Cillian Murphy's character. There's two different plot lines going on, basically, throughout the movie. Essentially two different character arcs. But it actually focuses more on the daughter character and what's going on with her and Cillian Murphy than what's going on with Emily Blunt and the son, without losing too much of the latter over the former. The movie was pretty well balanced in that regard, which I appreciated. And the performances in this movie were fantastic. Cillian Murphy, to me, was the highlight of the movie. His performance was just amazing. And I've liked Cillian Murphy in just about everything I've ever seen him in, from Red Eye to Batman Begins to Inception and so on and so forth. He's a fantastic actor, and he really does deliver here. The same goes with Emily Blunt. Just the subtle way she shifts her expressions when something is going on, be it a drama sequence or a sequence where she's supposed to be frightened or scared or just determined. She really does deliver in every scene that she's in. The children were also great as well. These child actors can really be they can be a detriment to a movie if the wrong person is hired. But in this situation, the kids, I felt they improved from the last movie as far as their performances go. And they showed that they were really capable of emoting. And so that was important for me as an audience member. The only thing that I'll say, because I really don't have really anything bad to say about this movie, but the only thing that really bothered me was like the very end, the last scene. The movie just kind of cut off. It just ended, and I was like, that's it. Those were my literal words in the theater. I was like, so that's it. They're not gonna. Okay. And I just got up out of my seat and just walked out. But outside of that, it's a small thing. It's extremely small. Another thing that bothered me too was the treatment of minority characters. They got two black characters in the movie. One is in the intro sequence, and then there's another one that pops up later in the movie, played by a very well-known black actor. I don't want to butcher his name. I think he's an African performer, but not sure. But I've seen him in movies like Blood Diamond, and he had a small cameo in Guardians of the Galaxy. He's just been in all sorts of different movies, so I immediately knew who he was, and the way they just like killed him off is just cartoonish almost. Yeah, so this movie didn't really do a good job as far as the whole diversity thing goes. The minority characters, specifically the black characters, are just treated as idiots who just make dumb decisions and they just end up dead. So that's something that did bother me on some level. But outside of that, I really love this movie from start to finish. I want to see more movies like this. I'm a big horror fan, a big horror fanatic, and most horror movies are garbage. But this is one of the good ones. This is one of the few where it's like, yeah, okay, I can see you guys actually had something here. So, yeah, Quiet Place Part 2. If you haven't seen it, what are you doing? You're doing yourself a disservice. I can't wait for Part 3. Hopefully they'll end it and it'll be just a nice trilogy of films. So I hope that's what John Krasinski has in mind.